been a rough couple weeks, or a rough couple months, but this group grinded out, and we keep continuing to grind. So continue doing that, and playing the baseball the way we're capable of playing.
Bringing the same energy, trying to play our best game every single day, and a day at a time.
Test coming back clean. I'm not really concerned with where the nerves are right now.
So you fully expect to pitch again?
Oh wait, oh god, yeah. Clown question, bro.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I'm Marty Cassavell. I believe today is Tuesday. It is a glorious, gorgeous Tuesday here in San Diego in Pacific Beach. Blue skies. It is sunny. AJ Cassavell, I'm not sure. He's holed up somewhere. I see curtains drawn. AJ, good morning. How are you today? Somewhere in Los Angeles.
Pasadena, it is hot. It is not hot, gorgeous and perfect. It's hot. So I'm going to go for a run later, and we'll see how that goes. Might have to cut it short.
Good deal. Good. No, that's no problem. I want to get you out there before it gets too hot. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. I went a little bit old school with my open, showing, Manny Machado talking about some struggles for the Padres, Tatis getting it going, and Michael King, a clown question, bro. And I asked him, is he going to pitch again? Now, I should have rephrased my question to Michael King and asked, are you going to pitch again this season for the San Diego Padres? Maybe that'll come another time. We'll get there, but let's go ahead and go to yesterday at Dodger Stadium, AJ Cassavell, because you were there. The return of Shohei Ohtani. Can you just take us to what it was like to be there for that moment? Dodger Stadium is always a mess to begin with. So much media there, the LA media. I'm sure the San Diego media was there in full force. But then you have the Japanese media. What was yesterday like for you as a reporter covering both teams?
I mean, it was maybe a little bit more of a mess than usual, but I don't know. We've covered some playoff games up there. It just kind of felt a little bit like that in terms of the media size, and I don't know. They gave me a nice seat, kind of down in the front row, so I'll take it. But it was more, I think, for me, like the pregame buzz and the fact that I think everyone there. I don't know, Dodger Stadium, they're not always in their seats at first pitch, but on this occasion, like everyone was there. Everyone knew that Shohei was going for one inning, maybe two, and they had to be there to see that. Plus, like, it felt like all the buzz had happened was pregame, and then like Shohei pitched and he pitched for one inning, and it's like, well, this is a pretty important game. So maybe I guess the mood shifted a little bit. I think a lot of people were there just for that one inning of Shohei. Can't say that I was. That is not my job.
Right.
So I don't know. I thought it was a pretty solid atmosphere, all things considered. And it was kind of unique seeing the place packed and like on their feet before first pitch.
Packed early. Very, very, very unique.
Yes.
I know. I'm sure the Padres players were more concerned about finding a way to go ahead and win these games, right? We've talked about this at length. This is a very important stretch for the Padres. You saw two of their division rivals make significant moves. Rafi Devers to the Giants, and of course Ohtani back on the mound sooner than expected. What was the mood like in the Padres clubhouse before that game? And you were not in Arizona, correct? You were on a bucket list trip, which we'll get to a little bit later in today's show.
I was, yeah, that was awesome. We can get to that. I still watched plenty of baseball this weekend, more baseball than I would have otherwise. But no, I was not in Arizona, and I think like there was a buzz about it in the clubhouse yesterday because in the aftermath of the Arizona, like that was all happening as we were watching the end of the Arizona game, the series finale there. It hadn't really set in for everyone, so yesterday kind of canvassed the clubhouse and got their opinions on everything that had happened, and I think. Like this group is kind of used to it by now because this division has seen maybe not a trade like this one where it's Rafael Devers in June when no one even knew that he was available.
Right.
But the idea of like this team just got someone who's really good. Well, that's what the Diamondbacks, Dodgers, and Giants and Padres have done for the last like 4 years. They've pulled off these massive blockbusters that have usually made those teams all better. They're usually not trading guys away. And so basically, since Mike Schilt took over, and I think a lot of the guys in the clubhouse feel the same way. It's just okay. That's crazy. They're all baseball fans. That's crazy. That's cool. That's interesting. Why did that happen? Xander Bogaerts is close friends with Rafael Devers.
Yep.
Like it's interesting, but they they're genuine when they say they're keeping the focus on themselves, because like they've dealt with this before. They dealt with it when the Dodgers signed Shohei Ohtani and 6 other guys, and everyone kind of proclaimed them heading into the season as unimpeachable, and then the Padres came a game from doing so in last October. So the vibe in the clubhouse is, I think, pretty cheery and optimistic still, because that's just the way this group's been. I think I would like to hope that the vibe in the front office is time to get something done, time to make moves. I also don't know, like you need 2 teams to make moves, and one of the things about the way the schedule lines up right now and the way the playoff format is that if you look at those standings, there's 25 teams that can reasonably say we could make a run at this thing. Maybe fewer than that, maybe like 23, but that's just not good business if you're negotiating against yourself and doing it this early. So I get that to an extent. I still think the Padres need to hustle up. They need some help in left field. They need some help on the mound. Explore catcher, explore bench bat. Like, there's some things that need to get done. And if other teams in the division are adding Rafael Devers and bringing back Shohei Ohtani, that's only going to make things tougher.
I don't think they can afford to wait. And I feel like we've had this conversation since the first month of the season. But when you see what the 2 teams in your division specifically are doing, and it's not working at catcher. I mean, you're seeing those glaring holes in left field. I know Jason Hayward is on a rehab assignment in El Paso, but he is not the answer. He's, as you talked about last week, he is probably the bridge. He is the temporary bridge until they can find out someone they can bring in left field. If you had told me that the Padres would be in the middle of a very important series in June, and you've talked about the importance of the schedule they're playing, the caliber of the opponents, and you're going to go with Randy Vasquez, who's been good, right? He's been what you want from a number 4, number 5 starter. Very solid. Same for Stephen Kolek. But you're throwing out Vasquez, Kolek, and Berger. Oh, and by the way, you're having someone named Trenton Brooks on this team. That's what you're throwing out against this Dodgers team. I would have said, you know what? They're dead. They have no chance. I mean, what are we learning about really their lack of depth as they play these games, these really important games?
Yeah, I would argue that's Trenton Brooks slander. I am curious to see what he does, just as a bat, not as the answer, answer, but just as a bench bat compared to some of the other guys they've had up. Having Trenton Brooks and not Luis Camposano, who you clearly have no faith in and aren't going to play, I think is a step in the right direction.
Okay.
But a small step. So to your other points, the rest of it, like they need action at this point. And when I say they can wait, and because these other teams are waiting to declare themselves sellers, or at least make their guys available at a reasonable price, like that's costing the Padres in the now. And if they do that, I think the division is going to slip away. You talk about the Dodgers and maybe now even the Giants, what they've done. I think like there's because of the injuries they have in their rotation and the question marks they have in their offense, if everything broke right for the Padres this season, they could have contended for the National League West. Everything has not broken right. So unless you're going to address that now, the gap will be probably too big by the time you do address it at the deadline, if that's when you do. And so that's something that they've said is their goal. It feels like it could slip away if they don't either make those moves or get some clarity on pitching, and clarity in a good way on guys like Michael King and Yu Darvish. That being said, like we saw last year, you don't need to win the division to accomplish your goals. It just makes things a lot easier, and it's a goal that the Padres state every single spring training, basically since Bob Melvin's been here and since Mike Schilt's been here, that's the first thing they want to accomplish is winning the division. They're 4 games back now. Yeah. They've got 3 coming up with the back end of their rotation against a loaded Dodgers lineup. It's going to get tough unless they can make some moves and or get healthy in the rotation.
You talked about the tone of the clubhouse being very, being optimistic, and I think a lot of that does come from Mike Schilt, who only sees optimism. Right, for him, the glass is always it's half full; it's never half empty. I thought he had an interesting comment yesterday. I mean, he doesn't criticize his players, but he said, we need our stars to be stars. We need our stars to be stars. You say something like that because clearly they're not performing like they're stars, except for Manny Machado, who has been consistent. He's a huge reason why the Padres are still in this picture. You're seeing some good signs from Tatis. Let's go ahead and start with Tatis. What's been the difference with his approach at the plate over the past week or so?
I don't know how different it's been other than the fact that he seems more within himself. And so like there are some pitches that he's like when he gets to 2-0 and he's feeling good and he can swing out of his shoes and then he can hit it 450 feet. I think he's maybe come to an acceptance of the fact that it's right now it's not there. Right now it's not clicking. And so when he's in some of those counts, it's not trying to do too much, trying to do little things. I know how cliche that all sounds, but he has looked better, I think, since Friday or Saturday at the plate. And he's also maybe come to a recognition that and this is not a new revelation, but he's a guy who doesn't need to be hitting the ball 450 feet to be impactful. He can bloop a single into center field and all of a sudden he's on the bases and he can slide in safely ahead of a sacrifice fly because of the impact he makes on the bases, or he can make plays out in right field. So I just think we're seeing Tatis maybe accept more that he's in a rut and tailor his approach at the plate around that. And then if and when he finds himself at the plate, he can kind of get back to being that aggressive when he gets a hitter's count. He can take some hacks like he usually does. But I think the whole star thing is interesting because that was framed in the context of, well, everyone in this division or everyone at Mike Schultz's scrum yesterday was probably the biggest I've seen for a pregame on the road, because there were so many questions about Ohtani and Devers. And his question is, his statement was more in the sense of like, hey, we've got our stars too. And if our stars are playing like stars, we feel pretty confident. And I think they should. But lately their stars, minus Manny Machado, hadn't been. Jackson Merrill's hurt. Tatis could be heating up, could be back. The thing is, they're relying on those stars. Like, they don't have the depth that they had a year ago. That's what they're trying to find. I know for a fact that's what they're looking to find in trades right now, but it just hasn't come to fruition.
And the pitching hasn't been there as well. I want to get to Dylan Cease in a second, but let's go with Jackson Merrill. The scary concussion. What did Mike Schultz have to say yesterday about Jackson Merrill? And what is you can't rush back from that. Do you think that he could be out a lot longer than the 7 days, which is mandatory for the IL?
It sounds like Mike Schultz seemed to say that, like, it's definitely possible he could be longer than the 7 days, but I don't know about a lot longer than the 7 days. He said he was doing better yesterday and he was making all the right signs that you're supposed to kind of make on day 2.
Okay, good.
He was vague. I think it's fine to be vague with
head injuries,
concussion, because this is a guy's brain and his livelihood, and some injuries I would wish that we would get a little more information on, but this one in particular, it's a concussion. He'll be back when he's ready, when he clears those tests, and he shouldn't be back a moment before that. Okay.
Let's go to Trenton Brooks. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot more of him. You're rooting for him. Go ahead and tell us more about him and what the Padres, what they like about him.
Well, I don't know if I'd say like I'm rooting for him, but I just think it's a piece that fits better than Luis Campusano did if you're not going to use him.
Right.
If Trenton Brooks, who had an OPS over 1,000 at AAA and was hitting home runs and hitting the ball hard, if he's just a guy you bring off your bench, and if he can fill in that bench role and he can get a hit against a right-handed pitcher late in the game, that's more useful than what you've gotten from your primary bench bats for most of the season. That's more useful than calling on Elias Diaz to pinch hit in a big spot when you kind of need him in that catching platoon. So it's maybe not a me saying that like Trenton Brooks is the answer for the Padres' problems. It's me saying that Trenton Brooks is clearly better than what the Padres have had on their bench so far. And that's not to say he will be. That's not to say he will do all of those things I just said that he would do, but there's no reason not to give him a chance given how well he's playing at AAA. So, I mean, he's a kind of a career journeyman. He's from Alpine. So it's kind of a fun story if he ends up hitting for the Padres. I know he grew up a Padres fan. Said Trevor Hoffman was his favorite player. So I'm all about the stories too.
Sure.
I'm just curious to see if he handles that role.
Of course. A better fit than Luis Campusano. We talked about Luis Campusano. Like, what's the point of having him here if you're not going to play him? They actually gave him a start. I'd be shocked if we saw Campusano again, but we'll see. The Padres have to figure out a lot of things at catcher, bench, left field, but Luis Campusano is likely not going to be a part of any of that. Okay, Dylan Cease. How surprised you that Dylan Cease has struggled this season to find consistency? He looked good. He looked like he has the best stuff. He has like the best stuff, in the rotation, but he struggled a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, the struggles, I guess, aren't that surprising because we saw him go through some struggles. Yesterday was, I don't know what to make of yesterday because he was really good against the Dodgers in his last turn. I think his next start is just going to be a huge one. So who would that be against? That's this weekend against Kansas City. Like he was really good last week against the Dodgers, and I thought he was really good last night. And crush me if you want to know, he gave up 6 earned runs. Like some of those were seeing eye singles. His fastball was ridiculous. His slider was excellent. He had that play go against him in the where Cronenworth threw a little wide and Arias couldn't hold the bag. Then he hit Andy Pages, which, like, I know Pages contends it was intentional. If that was intentional, it's ridiculously dumb because you have the top of that Dodgers lineup coming. So I do not think it was.
As Manny said, you have much bigger stars to go ahead and hit than this dude.
Manny is not wrong, and he also avoided calling him irrelevant.
I wish he did. Let's go.
But I mean, like he was quick to praise to like in Manny's fans, he praised Andy Pages, and he was also kind of stating a fact that like if you're going to hit someone, it's probably not going to be Andy Pages. So in any case, like he gives those 2 free base runners, and man, of the 5 singles he gave up, which the Dodgers scored all their runs on 5 singles, 2 of them were hit hard. A couple of them, Tatis was positioned way in right field for Ohtani, thinking he was going to pull it. That looked like a fly ball to me, and then I'm like, oh man, Tatis is playing right kind of toward the line. Like some tough luck. I'm not going to make excuses for Dylan Cease struggling because like for most of the season he has struggled. But what I saw from him in his last Dodgers start and then what I saw from him last night, like that's a guy that could be really good. If this start maybe sticks in his brain, the 6 earned runs, that's trouble. If he kind of continues just with the stuff, I'm calling a breakout. I'm calling next week. We're talking about Dylan Cease pitching really well against Kansas City.
Okay, I'm gonna write this down. Cease pitches well against Kansas City. We're gonna have it in there. That would be great. Again, the Padres need their stars to be stars. You're seeing it from Tatis. You're seeing. Hopefully, you saw some good signs from Cease. You're calling for a breakout. Okay. Speaking of the rotation, is Yu Darvish? I would imagine Michael King's not on this trip. Is Darvish on this trip with the Padres?
I did see both of them. They're both around. Yes, Michael King was not in Arizona. I imagine he just drove up from San Diego.
Okay.
But very briefly, we didn't get to talk to either of them. I think Darvish actually did speak about Ohtani to the Japanese media.
Okay.
King was not available in the clubhouse. Right. But Darvish, the short story on Darvish is pretty simple. He's throwing another simulated game. He threw his first one, I believe, on Friday. So then in theory, throw another one Thursday. Then maybe it's rehab. Then maybe it's another kind of build-up game. I think we said it last week on this podcast. Like maybe early July would be what you're looking at. Maybe just before the All-Star break, and you get him some of that extra rest with the All-Star break. Like that is if his elbow cooperates, but. At this point, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can see exactly where he is in his progression and what needs to happen. King is just kind of more up in the air. We don't know specifically what he's doing or whether he's throwing or what he's doing to strengthen that shoulder or where that shoulder is. So TBD on Michael King, who may be the most important piece on the team right now. That might be the most important riddle is whether he's healthy when he comes back. And how he pitches when he comes back.
I wonder how much Michael King's fate for this season determines how aggressive AJ Preller is going to be at the deadline, right? Because you have these needs. You already need a starting pitcher. You have needs in left field. You have needs behind the plate. You've got you could easily fill 5 spots. But if you need to go out there and find an ace as well, I do wonder like how much of what the Padres are planning to do depends on the certainty around Michael King. And
yeah, I don't disagree. Devil's advocate would be like if Dylan Cease can get there and if Yu Darvish comes back and if Nick Pivetta Nick Pivetta has been
great,
pretty solid for the whole season. Then maybe you don't need to acquire that ace, but you still need a starting pitcher. I I think the big thing is they need clarity on Michael King as soon as possible so they can figure out what they need in that starting rotation. So, like, I'm with you that they need to make moves as soon as possible to address left field and to address the offense. And if they can find 2 bats as soon as they can, they should get them. I guess I'm a little okay with sending a back end of the rotation of Vasquez, Kolek, Bergert, because the defense is good enough and Ruben Niebla can strategize enough and the bullpen can do enough to kind of keep your run prevention efforts in pretty good shape while you figure out what's up with Michael King and Yu Darvish to an extent, and then can strategize your deadline plan for the rotation. So I think that, like, the more urgent need is left field because you don't know what's going on with Michael King. And I'm with you. I think he could determine their season in a way, depending on maybe not when he's back. Well, like, obviously if he takes toward the end of the season, like that's a problem. But
you're going if
it's they just can't rush him back with this thing, and he's not going to rush back. And if it's a shoulder injury for a starting pitcher, we'll see. I mean, I believe them when they say it's nothing structural, but I also have just so many questions about what their plan of attack is, because how do you address this if you really, like, if it's this late into the process and we still don't know what the buildup is.
All right, it's a historical injury. That's the vagueness around this injury is what kind of gets me. Like, no one in the history of baseball, thousands of players have come through and no one's ever had this. That's the thing that gets me. I want to make sure that I leave plenty of time to go ahead and talk cloud jumper and your bucket trip trip. But before we do, the next time you and I talk next Tuesday, it'll be after the very first game of Nationals and the Padres. How much time will you spend revisiting the Padres trade, the Juan Soto trade? Because all those, I think they just sent down Robert Hassel, right? He was just sent down, but all those guys are here. Gore.
Yeah, and it was such a good trade for the Nationals. I will maintain it was a good trade for the Padres too. They didn't do what they needed to do around Juan Soto. Like, that team should have been way better than 82 wins, and they kind of blew it early that season with the play on the field, and then maybe at the deadline in terms of not going for it more aggressively. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Or in terms of maybe not picking a lane at the deadline, because they could have sold that deadline too. But the Juan Soto trade, I will just defend it no matter how good James Wood is and no matter how good CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore are and what they develop into. It was Juan Soto. It was 2.5 years of Juan Soto, and it was the chance to win now and to, if and when they ended up trading him with 1 year left on his deal, to get significant pieces back, which they did. Yeah. Now one of those pieces is on the IL with a shoulder injury. I guess I revisited it last year, and it was kind of, it was at a time the Padres were struggling, and I just wanted to make it clear that, like, you still do that trade if you're going to rip them for transactions. Make it the fact that they didn't put a winning team in place around the core that they had of Tatis, Machado, Soto, and the pitch, and at the time Snell, Hader, all those guys.
Gosh,
it was I would have made that trade, and
I agree.
I think everyone with the Padres knew James Wood was going to be a star. Everyone with the Padres knew Abrams and Gore's upside. Still Juan Soto, I still make that trade.
That's the one that's going to hurt. So if Padres fans are upset right now about the struggles, the series with the Dodgers, just wait till the Nationals come to town next week. All right, we're going to end on a positive note.
Well, they could beat up on the Nationals too, which they have a tendency to do basically since that trade. So
they could do that. And there's been some grumblings in that clubhouse. There's some players upset with the manager's criticism with Dave Martinez. We'll get to that a little bit later on. All right. By the way, I realized I was playing the wrong ticker. I was playing May the 4th be with you. It is not May 4th today, guys. I had the wrong tag up there. My apologies. We are talking to AJ Cassavell. Today is June 17th. They are in the middle of Padres Dodgers. We're brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Okay, AJ Cassavell, you were not in Arizona for great reasons. You're on a bucket trip. Tell the people, if you can, about where you went this weekend.
I went to Omaha for the College World Series. That's been high on my bucket list forever. the way it came about was I have a buddy who has lived in Omaha for a decade who was moving, and so this was my last chance to do it. And every single year for the last decade, he said you have to come out for the first weekend of the College World Series. It's unlike anything else. And every year I've said, oh, I can't. I'm working. And so this year, 3-game weekend series in Arizona, sandwiched between 2 Dodgers series. I could kind of take off for that. So I flew in Thursday night. I flew out Saturday night. I went to 3 games, both games Friday, 1 game Saturday. It's the first time I've had a beer watching a baseball game in 10 years. It's glorious. Do the people know how good this is? I assume they do if they're watching this content and consuming all this content. I had some Cloud Jumpers, Pint
Nice.
9, Fairy Nectar was a really good beer I had from there.
Fairy Nectar?
Fairy Nectar by Cross Train. But yeah, I mean, it was just a baseball party, and it was fan bases. All 8 of the fan bases were there. We hung out with some Oregon State Beaver fans, so go Beavs now. They were very friendly, very kind. But it was just a massive baseball party, and with more than just those 8 fan bases. A lot of fans of teams that didn't make it, that just said, hey, let's go to Omaha and watch some baseball.
Awesome.
Really, really cool. Highly recommend. If anyone's considering doing it,
Yeah.
you should 100% do it, and you should go on the first weekend so that you get all of the teams still alive in the tournament.
Okay.
That's the time to
And
go.
all the fan bases and everyone's happy. So it's not less tension there. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I mean, I've been covering baseball now for 21 years or so, but man, back in the day, there was nothing I loved better than sitting in the outfield, sunny day, drinking a nice cold beer, especially if the vendors have the buckets of beer, which they used to bring around. There's nothing like it. If you're a sports fan, that's what you love. That's what I love.
Friday night was Oregon State Louisville.
Okay.
We got seats in the bleachers, so it was sunny for about an inning and a half, and it was hot, 95 or whatever. And in one of the reasons that stadium's so good is there's so much standing room available, and you can it's a grandstand covering the whole first level, so there's standing room pretty much everywhere. But we sat out in the bleachers, and there's just kind of a beer walk-in. You grab whatever beer you want, and you just scan it at the end, and then you show your wristband, and you pay.
Oh.
And it's like our seats were there, so it was like kind of a procession every 3 innings or so. Just walk right out, walk right back to our seats. The last row of the bleachers out in right field. It ended up being a great game, 4-3. Oregon State walked it off. Some real legitimate prospects on some of these teams. I think maybe not as many as, 2 years ago, the Paul Skeens year, when it felt like the whole College World Series was guys who were going to be in the big leagues in a year. But it was just a blast. It was awesome. And not that I needed my love of baseball to be renewed, but that's kind of what I felt like it was.
It's good to have that. It's going to be rejuvenated. By the way, how much is beer at the College World Series?
$12 for a tall boy.
What? That's
Yeah,
not
12
bucks.
for a tall boy
that's
of the good stuff.
It's probably like Dodger. It's like 20 at Dodger Stadium right now, and they don't have a lot of good stuff. The beer selection at Dodger Stadium is terrible. I'm going to say that right now. It really is.
I wouldn't know. But there's nowhere better than
That's
Petco
true.
Park where I have to walk through every day and be like, oh man, that'd be nice if I could be having one of those.
Especially the beer carts on the concourse, like behind home plate. Those are fantastic. And usually they don't have the lines. You go to the regular concession stands, huge lines. But if you go to the beer carts, I walk by them all the time, right? On the main concourse, behind home plate, man, you can just walk up
that's what
and
I'm
grab
talking
beer.
about.
That's the best.
It's all the good local stuff. But I mean, Omaha was just so cool. It was such a baseball party, and
good for you.
Yeah, go Beavs.
Good. Go Beavs. One more thing. Is AJ Preller at Dodger Stadium, or is he out there, scouting somewhere?
Did not see him yesterday. It is the MLB Draft Combine right now, so every chance he's there. But I do not know exactly where he is. He was not at Dodger Stadium.
Well, you would look for a floppy hat, then you would know if he's there. AJ, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate you. Have a good time at Dodger Stadium. I might see you Friday, Kansas City, and you're calling your shot. Dylan Cease, man, gonna turn it around against the Warriors.
Just the way he's pitched. As long as he doesn't let the results of that start spiral, he's close, man. He's close.
All right. Thanks, AJ. Thanks for your time. I know you have to go ahead and hustle over to Dodger Stadium. Actually, no, you have to get in your run and then beat the traffic to Dodger Stadium. Have a good one.
We'll see how that run goes. Might be short today given the heat. Thanks, Marty.
Thanks, AJ. All right, guys, that was AJ Cassavell. We were brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. I must be like in a brain fog. I was playing. It was May 4th. Today is June 17th. But thanks for hanging in there, guys. We will talk to you very soon. A couple comments here from some Padres fans. Let's see. I'm really from Tavo. I'm really losing faith. They're playing bad as hell. Well, they're not playing great baseball right now. They're just not. And you've seen the division's gotten a lot better with Rafi Devers to the Giants. And of course, Ohtani, he is the first pitcher back. Now, small sample size, but they're getting guys back. They're going to get Gonsolin back. They're going to get Blake Snell back. They're going to get, Glass now back. So the Dodgers, they have a bullpen game again tonight, but they're getting their pieces back. The Padres have to figure it out. Thanks, guys, for watching. If you missed anything with Alden Gonzalez yesterday, he was great. AJ Cassavell today. There's some stuff from Max Muncy with some compliments about Manny Machado, who, by the way, the leading vote getter at third base, which is great. Last year, the Padres sent several stars to the All-Star game, right? Their entire outfield. Jackson Merrill, Tatis, Jurickson Profar, Robert Suarez. Man, this year, they have one guy. Maybe they should have two. Maybe Robert Suarez has been very, very good too. But as Mike Schultz said, the Padres need their stars to be stars. Have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks again for watching.
The game was sick. I don't care what anybody says. And we didn't win. Yeah, that sucks. But that is a unbelievable baseball game, in my opinion. Back and forth all game. Pitching, hitting in both spots, certain spots. It was good in both areas.
We were dead last year. Like, after the series here, we were dead tired mentally, and we can't really afford that because we got games, right after. And so it's just one of those things where you got to get up for the rivalry, but understand that this is the middle of the season as well.
No, I haven't talked to him. I'm sure we'll chat a little bit, but there's a mutual respect. Like I said last year, it's gamesmanship. We're doing what we can to help our clubs win, but the love and respect, nothing's changed with that.
Today they're on the schedule, and here we are.
How about any unfinished business from how the season ended last year against this ball club?
There's unfinished business with everybody.